Bandeham Shri Guru Shiyatha Parakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Sya Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raganatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sabadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Paran Sahagana Lalita Shivishkam Vitam Sya Om Jnana Timarandasya Jnana Jana Shalakya Chakshurunmitam Yena Tasma Shri Gurave Namah Gaurava Bhistam Supurakam Garaganara Sesha Sambhushitam Chintya Chintya Samasta Veda Nipanam Shri Rupa Patanugam Govinda Bidam Ujvalam Bharatanum Bhaktyan Vidam Sundaram Mande Vishwagurun Shah Divyat Bhagavat Premna Vibija Pradam Devam Divyatanum Suchanda Baranam Balarka Chelanchitam Sandrananda Puram Sadeka Baranam Vairagya Vidyamburim Shri Siddhanta Nidhim Subhakti Lasitam Saraswatanam Baram Bandetam Shubharam Madeka Sharanam Yashishwara Shridaram Bansha Kalpatarubhyas Kripa Sindhubhyavicha Patitanam Pavinibhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Namo Mahabharanyaya Krishna Prema Pranayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namane Gauratavishe Namah. So we're hearing from Sri Chaitanya Bhagawat by Srila Vrindaban Das Thakur. This has translation by Sarva Bhavana Prabhu from Bengal. And this is Adi-khanda, chapter 12. Nimai wanders throughout Navadwip. All glories to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Gaura Sundar. All glories to the servants who eternally accompany the Supreme Lord. Nimai was fully engaged in performing his transcendental pastimes as a scholar in Navadwip. Always with a book in hand, he went about Navadwip challenging all the scholars and teachers to debate on practically any subject matter, but no one could meet his challenge. The Lord was supposed to have reached only the study of grammar, yet he regarded acclaimed and titled scholars with disdain. He was a self-satisfied scholar and went about Navadwip with his disciples and students who were very fortunate by his association. One day he quite unexpectedly met Mukunda on the road. Catching him by the hand, the Lord demanded, "What is your reason for avoiding me and turning away when you see me? Today let me see how you escape without answering my questions." "How am I going to defeat him today?" thought Mukunda. "I know that he is well versed in grammar. So I shall question him on alankar, figures of speech, and defeat him so thoroughly that he will never boast to me again." The debate began, and they plied each other with questions. The Lord defeated each of Mukunda's questions. Then Mukunda suggested, "Grammar is for small children. Only young students discuss these subjects. Rather, we should discuss figures of speech, or alankar." "Whatever you wish," replied Nimai. Mukunda quoted difficult and lofty shlokas, one after the other, making questions on different aspects of the figures of speech. The omnipotent Supreme Lord pointed out mistakes in every one of his compositions and smashed all his arguments. Mukunda was unable to establish any new points. "Today return to your house and please study your books properly," said the Lord smilingly. "Tomorrow, if you wish, I will put you to the test again." Mukunda took the dust from the Lord's lotus feet and left thinking about this wonderful incident. It is not possible for a human being to possess such knowledge, thought Mukunda. He is well versed in all the scriptures and subjects. He is such a genius that it seems there is not one thing that he does not know. If only he were a devotee of Lord Krishna, then I would never leave his company for a moment. Thus the Lord of Vaikuntha enjoyed the mood of a scholar while roaming about Navadwip. On another occasion, he met Gadadhar Pandit. The Lord grasped both of Gadadhar's hands and said, "I have heard you study logic. You must answer my questions before you leave." Gadadhar Pandit agreed, and the Lord began, "Tell me the nature of liberation." Gadadhar replied according to knowledge he had gained from the books, but the Lord said, "Your explanations are not up to standard." Gadadhar insisted, according to the scriptures, liberation comes only after the extirpation of extreme suffering. Nimai Pandit, the Lord of Saraswati Devi, the goddess of learning, pointed out discrepancies from various angles of Gadadhar Pandit's explanation. There was no one who could defeat the Lord, no one who could win in a debate with him. "Gadadhar, you should go home today, but tomorrow we shall meet again, and you will have another chance," said Nimai. However, Gadadhar could only think of escaping Nimai's association. He offered due respect to Nimai and left as quickly as possible. Nimai continued to roam about Navadwip with his students. Everyone now recognized Nimai as an erudite scholar, and people in general were very respectful toward him. In the late afternoon, the Lord would sit in the midst of his students on the bank of the Ganga. Nothing in the cosmic creation could compare with his charm, for Lakshmi Devi, the goddess of wealth, continually worshipped him. Nothing in the cosmic creation could compare with his charm, for Lakshmi Devi, the goddess of wealth, continually worshipped him. Sri Satchidananda explained the scriptures, and all his students sat around him listening. Around evening time, the Vaishnavas came and sat at a distance from the Lord, listening to his explanations with mixed feelings of elation and depression. What is the benefit of possessing so much beauty and such vast learning if one does not worship Krishna, commented one devotee. I have to run away when I see him, lest he catch me and defeat me with his tricky questions, said another. If he catches you, you cannot escape. He forces you to stay as though he had the authority of some government official, complained another. Nonetheless, his strength is so extraordinary, concluded one devotee, that I think he must be some great personality. Although he harasses us with tricky questions, somehow I feel very pleased each time I see him. I've yet to meet anyone with his erudition. The only thing that disheartens me is that he does not worship Lord Krishna. The devotees sincerely prayed that Nimai would develop some attachment for the lotus feet of Lord Krishna. They prostrated themselves on the bank of the Ganga and petitioned the Lord on Nimai's behalf. O Lord Krishna, please allow the son of Sri Jagannath Mishra to be always absorbed in you, leaving aside his other pursuits, they prayed. Allow him to worship you always in loving devotion, and then we can associate with him. Nimai thus received the blessings of the pure Vaishnava devotees. As the Supreme Personality of God residing in everyone's heart, he knew the mentality of the devotees. Whenever he saw Srivas and other elevated devotees, he would always offer them respect. He accepted the blessings of the Vaishnavas, knowing that only through such blessings could love of Krishna be achieved. Often devotees questioned him, why do you waste your time pursuing material knowledge? What will you gain? Others would advise, you should begin to worship the Supreme Lord Krishna immediately. What is the ultimate aim of education? It is only to know the Supreme Lord. And if you miss this point, then what is the use of all your erudition? The Lord affectionately replied, I am truly very fortunate that all of you are so intent upon teaching me the path of devotional service to Krishna. Within my heart, I know that whoever receives your blessings is most fortunate. I have always thought that I would take shelter of a pure Vaishnava devotee, but only after I have studied a little longer. The Lord conversed affectionately with his devotees in this manner, and yet remained undetected by anyone through the influence of his internal potency Maya. The Lord charmed everyone and stole their hearts. There was no one who did not wait eagerly to meet the Lord again. The citizens of Navadwip were equally happy to meet Sri Gaurachandra, and whenever they saw him, they offered great respect. Each of the townspeople saw the Lord according to his own mentality. The ladies thought, oh, here is Cupid. The scholars offered him great respect, thinking that he was Brihaspati, the priest of the demigods. The mystic yogis considered him a perfected being, while the evil-minded atheists and sinners beheld him with fear. Nimai's charm was irresistible. Whoever conversed with him became captivated, as though bound by the ropes of love. Although he acted as a majestic scholar, flouncing his erudition, still people heard him with affection. Even the Muslims and others felt affection for the Lord. That was only natural because the Lord's nature was magnanimous. The Supreme Lord of all the spiritual planets taught many students in the courtyard of Mukunda Sanjaya's house. Never tiring from debate on any point, the Lord, Vishwambar, Sri Satchidananda, exhibited his pastimes as a scholar. None of the fortunate souls who had contact with Gaurasundar, including Mukunda Sanjay, could understand the reason for their exhilaration in the Lord's company. The Lord of Vaikuntha had mastered all the branches of education, and he exhibited these transcendental pastimes in the mood of an erudite scholar for the pleasure of everyone. One day the Lord appeared to be sick from a disorder of the life airs, but used the incident to reveal the ecstatic symptoms of devotional service. Suddenly he uttered something mystical and indecipherable. Falling to the ground, he rolled around, breaking everything within reach. He roared like thunder, like a challenging wrestler, and struck whoever came near him. At one moment his body would be paralyzed, and in the next moment he would fall unconscious. Those who witnessed the malady were frightened. News spread that he was suffering from a disorder of the life airs, and all his friends rushed in to try to help. Buddhimanta Khan, Mukunda Sanjaya, came quickly to his house with the entire group. They applied different medicated herbal oils upon his head to bring him back to a normal condition. In actuality, Nimai was pretending to be sick, so no one could cure him from his condition. Nevertheless, his whole body quivered uncontrollably, and he alternately sighed and roared, making everyone fearful. I am the Lord of the entire universe, said Nimai. I am the maintainer and upholder of the universe, and my name is Vishwambar. I am that same Supreme Personality who is the Lord of all the spiritual planets, but none of you know me. In his seeming madness, he rushed out to catch someone. Although Nimai revealed his real identity during his illness, still no one could recognize him because of the Lord's internal potency. Some demon must have possessed him, commented one person. Another immediately questioned, is this how a witch works? He is speaking constantly, therefore he must have some sort of disorder of the life airs, suggested another person. In this way, each one offered his own opinion, but none could understand the Lord in truth because of the influence of his illusory potency, the internal potency of the Supreme Lord Vishnu. People tried to cure the Lord by applying a variety of oils over his head and body. He dripped with oil, yet kept on laughing as if to substantiate the existence of a disorder that was affecting his mind. After some time, the Lord became normal again of his own accord. Such are the wonderful pastimes of the Supreme Lord. Everyone was relieved and jubilantly chanted Lord Hari's name. Their relief was so great that they began to give gifts and receive gifts from others without knowing to whom they had given or from whom they had taken. They all blessed the Lord with a long life. Who can comprehend these transcendental activities of the Lord of Vaikuntha if he himself does not mercifully reveal them? The Vaishnavas who were accustomed to give good advice to the Lord whenever they saw him now advised, Dear sir, please worship the lotus feet of Lord Krishna. Time is short and the body is temporary. However, what can we teach you? For after all, are you not the most learned person? The Lord smiled in acquiescence, offered the Vaishnavas respect, and left to teach his students in the house of the pious Mukunda Sanjay. His hair was still smelling sweet from the medicated oils. Lord Gaurasundar sat amongst his disciples and began to teach. In that gathering, the Lord looked like a gem surrounded by many precious jewels. It is impossible to give a proper analogy. It could have been Lord Narayan in Badrika Ashrama, sitting amongst his devotees like Shanaka and other great souls. There is no doubt that Satchitananda is that same Lord Narayan, the Supreme Personality. Thus he enacted his scholarly pastimes with his students and devotees. After holding class for several hours, Gaurasundar and his students could break at midday for their bath in the Ganga. After holding class for several hours, Gaurasundar and his students would break at midday for their bath in the Ganga. After that, the Lord would return home for his daily worship of Lord Vishnu. He offered water to Tulsi Devi, circumambulated her, and would then sit down to eat his meal whilst chanting the name of Lord Hari. Lakshmi Priya Devi served the prasad to her Lord while Sachimata looked on, drinking in the Lord's beauty to her full satisfaction. After eating, the Lord chewed some tambula, betel preparation, and lay down while Lakshmi massaged his lotus feet. For a while he would rest in a transcendental sleep, and upon rising he would again take his books in his hand and leave the house. Out in the street, Gaurasundar gave and received great pleasure in talking with anyone he met. No one knew he was in fact the Supreme Lord, yet everyone offered him respect. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Satchitananda, walked casually throughout the town where everyone could see him, although he is unapproachable by even the demigods. One day Nimai came to a weaver's house. The weaver received his guest with reverence. "Bring me a fine piece of cloth," said the Lord, and the weaver immediately produced a very good piece. "How much will you take for this?" asked Nimai. "Whatever you want to give," replied the weaver. Nimai estimated the price and said, "I have no coins today." "My dear respected Brahmin," asserted the weaver, "you can give in 10 or 15 days. Now take this cloth and wear it. If you are satisfied, you can pay me later." The Supreme Lord cast his merciful glance upon the weaver and left his place. At the house of the milkman, Nimai playfully took advantage of his position as a Brahmin. "Bring me some milk and yogurt," said Gaurasundar. "Today I shall accept some charity from you." To the milkman, Nimai looked like Cupid personified because of his brilliant beauty. Carefully and with great reverence, they seated him comfortably and began joking with him. Affectionately, they called him Uncle. "Come, Uncle, come to my house and take some rice," said one milkman, grasping Nimai's arm as though he would take him physically. "No, come to my house for rice. Don't you remember when you ate in my house previously?" said another jokingly. Actually, Nimai had never visited their houses except in his previous incarnation as Sri Krishna. The milkman could not know the depth of the joke, nor did Nimai reveal it. He was satisfied with his secret. The milkman brought him milk, clarified butter, ghee, yogurt, cream, and curd, and offered it to the Lord. The Lord was pleased with the milkmen, and after blessing them, he left for the house of a perfumer. The perfume maker received the Lord with great respect and offered prayers at his lotus feet. "Dear brother, bring me some good perfumes," said Nimai, "some good essential oils." The perfumer immediately went inside and came back with his best collection. "What is the price?" asked Nimai. "You know everything," replied the perfumer. "Would it be proper for me to ask payment from you? Take this perfume and use it for a few days. If the perfume suits you, you may pay me whatever you like." The perfumer smeared Nimai's body with fragrant oil and received indescribable pleasure from the service. How could he have remained unaffected while serving the beautiful body of the Lord who can attract the hearts of all living entities? Nimai blessed the perfumer and went on to the house of a florist. The florist was wonderstruck to see such an extremely charming person. He offered his obeisances to the Lord and with respect and affection he gave him a place to sit. I would like a very beautiful garland, but I do not have any money with me, said Nimai. Noticing the signs of divinity upon the Lord's person, the florist said, You do not have to give anything. The florist then brought a beautiful garland and placed it round the Lord's neck. This pleased the Lord, who began to laugh along with the disciples and students who had accompanied him. The Lord blessed the florist and went next to the house of the betel leaf dealer. The pond dealer saw that he had Cupid in person as a visitor. First touching the lotus feet of the Lord, the merchant then offered him a seat, saying, It is my great fortune that you have visited this humble dwelling of mine. He then spontaneously prepared a betel pond leaf for the Lord and offered it to him. Why did you give me this pond without being paid? Asked the Lord with a sweet smile. I simply acted on the prompting of my heart, said the pond merchant. The Lord was pleased with the merchant's simple beauty. The Lord was pleased with the merchant's simple honesty and was satisfied to chew the betel pond he had received. The dealer made a packet containing betel leaves with other valuable tasty spices like camphor and offered it to the Lord with faith and respect. In return, he received the causeless mercy of the Lord. Nimai continued to visit the people of Navadwip in this way. An exact replica of Mathura, Navadwip was an opulent town even before the advent of the Lord. The lakhs of inhabitants busied themselves throughout the town. So lakhs means hundreds of thousands of inhabitants busied themselves throughout the town. This was all prearranged by the desire of the Lord. Navadwip had been prepared to receive the incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Just as Lord Krishna had gone through Mathura, meeting the various residents, in this incarnation, Lord Chaitanya had enacted the same wonderful pastime. The Lord then visited the house of a conch shell dealer. The merchant received the Lord with great respect and offered his obeisances at the Lord's lotus feet. Dear brother, please bring me a beautiful conch shell, said Nimai. The merchant delivered his most beautiful shell and offered his obeisances again, but the Lord asked, How will I take it with me, as I am not carrying any money? Respected Brahmin, please take this conch shell home with you. You can pay me later, or if you do not pay me at all, it does not matter. The Lord was satisfied with the conch shell dealer's affection and blessed him. In this manner, the Lord visited many houses in Navadwip and showered each one with his mercy out of their great fortune. Even today, the residents of Navadwip receive the shelter of the lotus feet of Sri Gaurachandra and Sri Nityananda. The fully independent Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Gaurachandra, then went to the house of an astrologer. The astrologer saw a divine personality before him, glowing with spiritual radiance, and he humbly offered his respectful obeisances in the seat. I have heard that you are a good astrologer, said the Lord. Tell me, who was I in my previous birth? The astrologer chanted his Gopal mantra and went into meditation. He saw the four-handed form of Lord Krishna with the complexion of a dark monsoon cloud. The Lord was holding a conch shell, the Sudarshan chakra, a club, and a lotus in his hands. He saw the Lord bathed in divine effulgence, with a Kaustubha gem around his neck and his breast marked with Srivats. He then saw the prison house of Kamsa with Vasudeva and Mother Devaki holding the newborn baby in the late night. Then Sri Vasudeva carried the child to Gokula for safety. Again, the astrologer saw the Lord as a charming, two-handed little boy without any clothes. A jewelry around his waist tinkled sweetly with each movement, and both his hands were filled with creamy butter. The astrologer saw the same divine signs on Sri Chaitanya that he had always seen on Gopal, the form of Krishna on which he meditated daily. Once again, the astrologer's vision changed, and he saw the curved form of Lord Shamsundar Krishna playing his flute, while the gopis around him played on different musical instruments. The wonder-struck astrologer opened his eyes to observe the beautiful form of Sri Nimai, on which he continued to meditate. Then he prayed aloud to his worshipable Lord, Sri Gopal. O Gopal, please reveal to me the real identity of this young Brahmin. The astrologer then saw in his meditation the Supreme Lord with a complexion of durba grass, holding a bow in one hand while sitting upon a kingly throne. Again he saw the Lord as Varaha, the boar, balancing the earth between his tusks as he rose magnificently out of the ocean depths. He saw Lord Nrsingadev, the terrifying half-man, half-lion incarnation that appeared to protect his pure devotees. Then Vamana appeared in the sacrificial arena, Bali Maharaj, followed by Matsya, the fish, saving the Vedic scriptures from destruction in the waters of annihilation. Within his meditation, the pious astrologer then saw Lord Balaram carrying his divine plow, and after that he saw Jagannath and Balaram with Subhadra standing between them. All the incarnations of the Lord appeared to the astrologer, yet because of the Lord's illusory energy, he could not understand the deeper meaning of his divine vision. The astrologer was mystified and thought to himself, maybe this Brahmin is very expert in chanting mantras for incarnations, or maybe he is some demigod in the form of a Brahmin trying to amuse himself and test me. He certainly possesses extraordinary effulgence. Maybe he has come as an astrologer and clairvoyant to disgrace me. The Lord interpreted his thoughts and said, "What do you see? Tell me. Who am I? Tell me everything in detail." "Please go now," said the confused astrologer. "Later in the afternoon, when I have chanted my mantras properly, I shall tell you everything." The Lord wished him well and went to the house of his dear friend Sridhar. The Lord was always pleased with Sridhar's behavior, and he would use any excuse to visit him. They would converse confidentially and joke with each other. In this way, several hours a day could be passed very happily. Sridhar offered the Lord obeisances and a seat as soon as he arrived. Sridhar's calm and mild personality stood in obvious contrast to Nimai's stormy character. "Sridhar, you were always chanting Lord Hari's name. So what is the reason for your suffering? You are serving the husband and master of Sri Lakshmi Devi, the goddess of fortune, so why are you always in want of food and clothes?" "I'm not starving," replied Sridhar, "and as you can see, I have clothes on. They are neither fine clothes nor the right size, but my body is covered." Yet Sridhar argued the Lord, "The clothes are torn in several places, and I know you have neither straw nor rice in the house. Look around you. All the citizens worship Goddess Chandi, Mother Durga, the destroyer of all enemies, and none of them suffer for want of food, shelter, or clothing." "You have made a good point," replied Sridhar, "but generally speaking, everyone's life is practically the same. The king may live in a palace surrounded by opulence and eat sumptuously, while the birds live in the open or in a simple nest in a treetop and gather their own humble food. However, basically, everyone's approach to life is the same. By the Lord's design, each of us must meet the demands of duty, and in doing so, we behave more or less alike. Personally, I prefer to live the life I am leading now. I'm sure you have immense wealth hidden somewhere," accused the Lord, "and you are relishing opulent nectar in secret. So, soon I will make it known to everyone, and then we will see if you can continue to dupe the people." "Look through my house, dear learned Brahmin," invited Sridhar, "and see for yourself. We should not start an argument here." "I'm not going to let you off so easily," said Nimai. "Tell me, what are you going to feed me?" "I make a simple living selling leaf cups," replied Sridhar. "What can I offer to give you from such an income, respected Brahmin?" "I'm not going to touch your hidden wealth now. That I will get later," assured Nimai. "However, if you give me banana root and some banana stalks right now without taking money, then I will not fight with you anymore. Sridhar thought to himself, he is a very aggressive Brahmin. Someday he may even beat me. Nevertheless, even if he does beat me, what can I do? I really cannot afford to give him whatever he wants, free each day. However, I see he has a godly form. Certainly he is not an ordinary personality by any means. If he takes my things by force or by some other tricky means, then let him be free to do so. Ultimately, that will be my good fortune. So in spite of my poverty, I will continue to give him whatever he wants. Having made his decision, Sridhar answered the Lord, Dear Brahman, you do not have to pay me anything at all. I will give you whatever you want with an open and happy heart. Take your bananas and other vegetables. Take the leaf cups that I have, and please do not fight with me anymore. Yes, this is a very satisfactory agreement, said Nimai. There should be no further fights, but please see to it that I get good quality bananas, banana stalk and radish. Daily the Lord ate from Sridhar's leaf cups, relishing his bananas, banana stalks, radishes, and Sridhar's supplies for cooking in general. Occasionally, when a gourd grew on Sridhar's rooftop, the Lord would take it and have it cooked into a special preparation made with milk and hot spices. One day the Lord asked, Sridhar, what do you think of me? As soon as you tell me that, I shall return to my house. Sridhar replied, You are a Brahmin, part and parcel of the Supreme Lord Vishnu. No, you do not know, said Nimai. I belong to the community of cowherds and milkmen. You see me as a young Brahmin boy, but I consider myself to be simply a milkman. Sridhar just smiled at the Lord's comment. He could not recognize his own Lord and Master, being deluded by the Lord's internal potency. Sridhar, I am going to reveal to you an esoteric truth. You see the river Ganges? I am the source of the Ganga. Oh, Nimai Pandit, have you no fear in disrespecting Ganga Devi like this? Asked the disturbed Sridhar. People usually become more grave and serious as they grow older, but your frivolity seems to have doubled since your childhood. After staying with Sridhar for some time, Nimai Pandit returned home. He entered the temple room of Lord Vishnu, and his students took that as an indication that they should also return to their homes. The rising full moon in the evening stirred wonderful spiritual emotions within Nimai. Memories of the moonlight Vrindaban Chandra arose within his heart. Nimai held a flute and played an extraordinarily beautiful melody that only Sachi Mata could hear. The flute that charms the entire creation stole Sachi Mata's consciousness, carrying it away upon the wings of ecstasy. Slowly she regained her external awareness, and after studying her mind, she listened to the beautiful melody. The captivating flute seemed to come from Gaurasundar's direction. The music drew Sachi Mata from her room to the temple door, where she saw Nimai. The sound of the flute stopped completely, and upon her son's chest she saw the rising full moon and the fathomless firmament. She was overcome by amazement and glanced restively in all directions before returning to her room. She sat down trying to analyze what she had just heard and seen, but she could not find a proper explanation. Sachi Mata was fortunate to see Nimai's endless display of supernatural phenomena. Some nights she heard many people singing, dancing, and playing instruments, as if some festival were in progress. She sometimes noticed the entire house, doors, walls, and windows emanating a brilliant light. On some days she saw divinely beautiful ladies as attractive as Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune, roaming about with lotus flowers in their hands. Occasionally she saw effulgent demigods who would appear and disappear within a moment. Sachi Mata's visions were certainly not imagination. She was the embodiment of devotional service to the Supreme Lord Krishna, and all the Vedas glorify her. Merely her glance upon any person could purify and bestow the qualification to see the same transcendental visions. Sri Gaurasundar. Sri Gaurasundar, the Supreme Lord, who is Krishna himself, lived incognito in Navadvip, simply relishing his own divine self. Sometimes he revealed his esoteric identity, but none of his eternal servants could recognize him. In his Navadvip pastimes, the Lord liked to be very arrogant. In fact, no one could match his arrogance. Whenever the Supreme Lord performs any pastime, his activities cannot be equaled by anyone. When the Lord feels like performing his chivalrous pastimes, then there is no one to challenge his mastery over weapons. When he wants to reveal his amorous pastimes, then he captivates the hearts of millions of beautiful damsels. When he wants to enjoy opulence, then his opulence and magnificence is unmatched. Now in his pastimes as an erudite scholar, there is no one to match his audacious pride of knowledge, and when the same Lord will later accept the renounced order of life, then who will excel him in devotion, humility, and renunciation? Is there anyone in the three worlds to match him? In all his incarnations and pastimes, the Lord is supreme in all respects. Yet most wonderfully, his very nature is to become subordinate to the transcendental love of his pure, unalloyed devotees. One day the Lord was walking down the thoroughfare in Navadvip, surrounded by a number of his student disciples. His movement, dress, and behavior were that of a king, and he wore a golden yellow dhoti exactly like Krishna. A face that appeared to reflect 1,000,000 rising full moons had soft red lips. People would look and say, "Is he Cupid in person?" His exquisite forehead held the tilak mark. His hands clutched his books, and as soon as anyone beheld his lotus petal eyes, they were freed of all sinful thoughts and reactions. The Lord had a restless nature. As he walked along with his students, he swung his arms in a carefree manner. Srivas Pandit also happened to be walking along this road, and as soon as he saw the Lord, he immediately felt great happiness. The Lord offered his obeisances to Srivas Pandit as soon as he saw him. Srivas Pandit, the magnanimous personality, blessed the Lord, saying, "May you live a long life." Then with a laugh, he inquired, Where are you off to now, my dear epitome of vanity? What future work are you wasting your time upon instead of worshiping the Supreme Lord Krishna? Why do you spend days and nights teaching people nonstop? Why do you not allow people to educate themselves so they can get knowledge about Lord Krishna and the process of devotional service? What is the use of education and knowledge if devotional service is not the ultimate goal? From now on, do not waste even a single moment in futile activities. You have become educated. Now utilize your time in worshiping Lord Krishna. "Oh, respected Pandit," replied Nimai, "I'm sure that by your grace, devotional service to Krishna is possible even for me." Graciously, the Lord took leave of Srivas Pandit and went on to the bank of the Ganga. The Lord's beauty was indescribable as he sat in the midst of his students. One might say he looked like the moon surrounded by a starry firmament. However, that analogy is inaccurate, for the moon is not without flaw. Its waxing and waning diminish its glories, whereas the exhilarating beauty of the Lord was continuous. Therefore, such a comparison is inaccurate in describing the Lord's beauty. To compare him with Brihaspati is also inadequate, for Brihaspati is the spiritual master of only the demigods, whereas the Supreme Lord Gaurachandra is the supreme shelter and preceptor of all living entities. To compare him with Cupid is also incorrect, for remembrance of Cupid gives rise to material desire and ultimately to grief within the heart, whereas remembrance of the Lord brings purification and freedom from material bondage, through which one enjoys blissful eternal life. It seems that all analogies are inappropriate, except the one which is readily accepted by my heart. On the banks of the Jamuna, Sri Nanda Kumar Krishna sat surrounded by his young cowherd boyfriends. That same Krishna Chandra and the same cowherd boys were now sitting on the banks of the river Ganga. Whosoever beheld the charming face of Sri Gaurasundar seated by the Ganga experienced inexplicable ecstasy. The Lord's pure, effulgent form inspired many opinions from the people who were present there. One person said, "Such a brilliant effulgence is impossible for a human being." Another conjectured, "This Brahman must be a part of an expansion of Lord Vishnu. He has come to fulfill the prophecy that a Brahman would be the king of Bengal. I can see all the marks of royalty upon his body," said another. People continued to give their opinions as far as their intelligence would allow. Thus, Nimai, the cynosure of the residents of Navadwip, sat amongst his students, criticizing and minimizing the other teachers of Nadia. He would thoroughly defeat any arguments on any subjects, and then, by his superior intelligence, he would again establish the same arguments that he had just defeated. I will accept that person as a scholar who has the courage to come and argue with me, challenged Nimai. Who has sufficient intelligence to defeat my arguments? In this way, the Supreme Lord challenged and thus destroyed the false ego of the scholars of Navadwip. The Lord had a countless following of students. People would simply come and offer themselves to the Lord. Every day, many young Brahmin boys would come and pray at the lotus feet of the Lord. "O great scholar, I want to study under you so that I may learn something. Please be gracious and grant me this wish." The Lord would smile and accept them all, and in this way his students increased day by day. The most precious gem of the Vaikuntha planet sat amongst his students on the bank of the river Ganga, revealing his wonderful and pleasurable pastimes. The pious people could see the Lord, and everyone in Navadwip could feel his spiritual potency. There was no one to gauge the amount of good fortune that these people accumulated and the bliss that they experienced just by seeing the Lord. One would become free from material bondage simply by seeing the fortunate souls whose hearts had been touched by the blissful existence of the Supreme Lord. However, alas for me, I have taken a sinful and wretched birth. I could not be born at that time. My life is bereft of the beautiful transcendental light of Lord Gaurasundar. In spite of all this, O Sri Gaurachandra, please grant me the mercy that I may remember these pastimes of yours in every birth. Wherever you and my Lord Narayan perform your transcendental pastimes with your eternal associates, may I also be present there as your humble and insignificant servant. Lord Sri Krishna Chaitanya and Nityananda Prabhu are my life and soul. Their insignificant servant, Vrindaban Das, offers this humble song at their lotus feet. Okay. So now we'll sing Adi-khanda. Hari Haraya Nama Krishna Jadavaya Nama Jadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Jai Rupa Sanatam Bhakta Raguna Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasa Raguna Jai Gosai Gori Charana Bandhan Jai Teri Vignana Shabisa Puran Jai Gosai Jar Mui Dharana Dasavar Pada Renu Mora Panchagra Tare Chanana Sevi Bhakta Sanibal Janame Janame More Ambila Jai Gosai Jabe Branje Koilaman Radha Krishna Nitya Leela Gorila Prakash Anande Bolo Hari Bhaja Vrindaban Shri Guru Vaishnava Pade Manjai Aman Jai Saparikara Shishi Guru Guranga Gandharvika Giridhara Jo Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Nirmal Acharya Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Rakak Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Bhagavan Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Thakur Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Vaishnava Sarvabhauma Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Rupanuga Guru Marga Ki Jai. Namachar Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Shri Rupa Sanatana Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jiva Gopal Bhatta Dasha Raghunath Shad Swami Prabhu Ki Jai. Prem Sigo Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Shri Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Vishvavaranya Srila Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananda Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Navadwip Dham Ki Jai. Shri Dham Mayapur Ki Jai. Saparshada Shri Nityananda Prabhu Ki Jai. Saparshada Shri Man Mahaprabhu Ki Jai. Shri Koladvip Ki Jai. Shri Chaitanya Saraswat Ki Jai. Soquel Shri Chaitanya Saraswat Seva Ashram Ki Jai. Ganga Devi Ki Jai. Tulasi Maharani Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Shri Vrindaban Dham Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopi Govardhan Sham Kuna Radha Kunda Kalindi Yamuna Jo Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai. All the assembled devotees Ki Jai. Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol.
Jai Jai Om Vishnu Bhagavan Srila Bhakti Pavan Janardan Maharaj Ki Jai. Nitya Gaura Premanande.